Imagine waking up to the internet down, satellites not working, stock markets frozen, and a government announcement, "We are at war." This is not a dystopian fantasy. This is what world leaders and defense experts are now planning for. Welcome to Talk Maniac. Today we break down the chaos, strategy, and decisions that might lead us into the most dangerous war in human history, World War III. Taiwan crisis. In 2025, China declared the Taiwan Strait a restricted military zone. The United States responded by sending 2 carrier groups. Australia and Japan held joint exercises near Okinawa. For the first time, Taiwanese F-16s flew intercept missions daily. Ukraine war extension. Russia now controls 22% of Ukraine. Crimea remains heavily fortified with anti-air and hypersonics. Ukraine began long-range drone strikes on Russian oil refineries. NATO satellites caught suspected Russian jamming of Polish radar systems. Middle East, June 2025. Israel strikes Iran's nuclear site at Natanz. Iran responds with over 200 drones and ballistic missiles. Hezbollah opens a second front from Lebanon. United States and United Kingdom bases in Iraq and Syria are targeted. India-China border. Over 60,000 troops face off in Arunachal Pradesh. India conducts joint exercises with the Quad Alliance. Satellite imagery shows new Chinese military roads through Bhutan. North Korea. 4 ICBM launches confirmed. Seoul activates its entire civil defense infrastructure. Japan authorizes a first strike defense policy. World War I parallels. It began with an assassination. Countries fell into war due to treaty obligations. A global war from one regional flashpoint. World War II parallels. Hitler was ignored until it was too late. Appeasement led to escalation. Technology and propaganda accelerated the war. 2025, alliances are locked. Superpowers are overstretched. Small sparks could ignite global catastrophe. Cyber warfare. Iran disabled Israeli water treatment plants. Russia hit Polish ATMs with ransomware. United States banks were hit by China-based phishing networks. Space war. China launched its second anti-satellite missile this year. SpaceX satellites now host United States military communications. Russia jammed NATO GPS signals over Eastern Europe. AI weapons. China's ZK-21 drones swarm and self-target. United States Javelin AI-linked missile pods can auto-fire. Israel tested an AI battlefield decision-making system. Sanctions are now being used as weapons. The United States froze about $200 billion in Russian and Iranian overseas assets. Meanwhile, the European Union expanded export bans to cover rare earths and semiconductors. De-dollarization is really picking up speed. BRICS has launched something called BRICS Pay, which is a gold-backed digital currency. The United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia have all joined the platform. When it comes to strategic resources, China now controls about 70% of global lithium processing. Russia has swapped oil for drones with North Korea, and honestly, Africa is becoming the next battleground for rare metals. Nuclear escalation is back in the headlines. Russia has placed short-range nuclear weapons in Belarus. China has tripled the number of missile silos in Xinjiang. And North Korea just released video showing mobile-launched submersibles. Tactical nukes are designed for use on the battlefield. They can destroy a city block, but not an entire city. Recently, NATO even simulated a response to one being used in Ukraine. But what about nuclear miscalculation? What if, say, a radar glitch is mistaken for an attack? US satellites have already triggered alarms during Iranian missile tests. NATO now includes the United States, United Kingdom, France, Poland, Germany, and new Baltic members. Finland and Sweden are full members now, after a truly historic reversal. Is there a new axis forming? China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are openly coordinating. They've held joint naval drills in the South China Sea and Persian Gulf, and they're sharing AI and drone technologies. Looking at the global south, India is balancing US support while still buying Russian weapons. Turkey, a NATO member, actually has strong ties to both Moscow and Tehran. And Brazil and South Africa? They're pushing for a peace forum. In the United States, post-election unrest and polarization are intensifying. Congress remains divided on war powers, and there are massive anti-war protests, especially among Generation Z. Over in China, youth unemployment has climbed to over 21%. President Xi is facing internal backlash within the Chinese Communist Party, and rallies by the People's Liberation Army are being used as a nationalist distraction. Meanwhile, in Russia, rural protests are erupting over inflation and conscription, and private military groups are rebranding themselves following the Wagner Group's collapse. When it comes to diplomatic moves, India is proposing a non-aligned summit. The Pope and the United Nations are both calling for a universal ceasefire. South Korea is offering to mediate between the United States and China. For deterrence, the United States is maintaining a strong naval presence in the Indo-Pacific. Japan and Israel are now deploying laser-based missile defense systems. NATO, for its part, has increased its presence in the Baltics by 300%. Let's walk through a timeline simulation. On day 1, an Iranian strike hits Israel. By day 3, China begins a blockade of Taiwan. On day 5, Russia launches a strike on Poland's airbase. By day 7, the global internet slows down and satellite systems are degraded. Moving into week 2, a tactical nuclear device is used in the Taiwan Strait. The United States drafts emergency war powers and global stock markets collapse. In week 3, cyber attacks hit European hospitals and Africa and Latin America begin to face food shortages. World War III hasn't started, but honestly every system, every nation, and every leader is being tested right now. Are we walking into catastrophe blindfolded? This isn't just about weapons and war games, it's about choices. Here at Talk Maniac, we ask the questions most people avoid. We analyze power, patterns, and possibilities. So subscribe, share, think, because understanding is survival.